It's 2026. Do you still have this in your office? Do you still have servers? I get asked all the time whether or not people still need to have a server in this day and age of cloud SaaS environments. So let's talk about it.
Most of the people I've met that want to continue running on-premise servers are the same people that invest in gold and pay in cash. They want to be able to see it, touch it, feel it, know that their data is in that room right down the hall. And I get that. Most of humanity's existence has been based on tangible assets, but let's do a reality check. The days of owning your data in a room in the closet are long gone. Email hasn't run on an on-prem server in about 10 years. Microsoft and Google moved all of that to the cloud about 10 years ago, and you are so much better for it. Back in the day, every company had to do a refresh of their Microsoft Exchange server every 5 years, and it was an expensive licensing and hardware proposition. You had to think about backup, cooling for your server room, remote access, certificates for security, not to mention you needed somebody that knew how to install and manage an Exchange server, which was no easy feat. All of that infrastructure got moved to the cloud, and not many people resisted because it was really nice to take all of that headache and take it off your management plate. So if those servers are gone, what are we still running in the server room? The domain controller. A domain controller is a fancy term for a server that is responsible for the security of your company network. It keeps a directory of all your staff, all of your computers, all your printers, and it knows who gets access to what and what everyone's password is. When you go sit down at your computer and log in, it's not your PC that's saying yes or no. That message gets sent off to the domain controller for validation. This was a function that was running on-prem for years and years and years, even after email got moved to the cloud. But if you're a small business, that functionality is built right in your Microsoft 365 cloud now. So if we're not running our domain controller on-premise anymore, I know, it must be the files server, right? Your company has a Z drive that has all your company documents and data on it. Well, that functionality has been built into Microsoft 365 for years as well. And maybe you're saying, sure, I could move all that stuff to the cloud, but it's not as secure as having it in my server room. Unless you're spending tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on security for your on-premise server, there is just no way that a small business setup is more secure than a cloud. All of the big companies invest millions, if not billions of dollars into security each and every year because they have to. They deal with enterprises. They deal with governments from around the world. They have to stay abreast of the most current security exploits and patch them on the same day. If you're not doing that, then unfortunately that argument is just not going to hold water. I did a video here where I talked about how small businesses are actually the targets because they don't invest the same level of time and money in security as enterprise. It's worth checking out, but suffice it to say, security shouldn't be the answer to why you've still got an on-premise server. What about the cost? Is it more expensive to pay ongoing cloud subscriptions than to just run your server into the ground and try and get 7 or 8 years out of it? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. But there are some costs here that you may not be thinking about. For instance, cloud software is an ongoing operating cost, which you can write off 100%, whereas capital outlay that you spend on physical hardware and software, you have to depreciate that over time. Those extra costs of power and cooling and labor often get overlooked as well, and they could be substantial, especially when you add them to things like the cost of a backup system and how much it costs if your system actually goes down for mismanagement or, God forbid, critical failure, some sort of disaster. When you add all of those things together, the costs are much more closely aligned. Great question. I'm glad you asked. Pretty much the only reason we'd recommend running an on-premise server is if you use a software that doesn't have a good cloud offering. You're running a smaller software package in your business, maybe. They haven't developed a good SaaS offering, and the only option for you is to run an on-premise server. If that's the case, like it is with us, great. Just make sure that it's backed up and that you secure it properly. We personally have made the decision to move away from that software, and all of those servers you saw in the intro are actually going away. If you tried to move 10 years ago, it was quite an experience. But nowadays, there's countless tools to make the process fairly straightforward and simple. If you're in Vancouver, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Adaptive. We are great at this stuff. But if you don't have that luxury, work with your IT team to figure out what the next steps are. Both Microsoft and Google have made it incredibly easy to do. SharePoint takes some consideration to set up. I always say that the great thing about SharePoint is you can do anything with it, and the terrible thing is that you can do anything with it. But so did your Z Drive. Like, you had to do some thinking about that. We've got lots of videos on the channel going over the features and benefits of using Microsoft 365, and I'd encourage you to check those out in this ever-changing IT landscape. Be adaptive. See you next time. Maybe without a server.